Hey everybody, it's TRAKing Pat. In today's video, we're going to talk about the TRAK LPM. The LPM stands for Low Production Milling Machine, and that's exactly what this machine was designed for. So let me give you a for instance. You got a shop that makes parts that's more than just prototypes, but not really high production. Parts in quantities of 50 parts or maybe even 100, but definitely not more than that. A lot of times it might even fit into a frame of 25, 30 parts. But these jobs come back over and over and over again. So it's what we call low volume and high mix. And therefore, what most of your time is spent is setting up one job, taking down another, getting everything ready to go. Between the ball lock system that's built into this machine and the way that we have a checklist and some other things that make it fast and easy to go from one to the other, we've been able to knock down the setup time, or the changeover time as a lot of people like to call it, down to about 15 minutes or less. And that's what we're going to show you today. So we're going to have a sequence of videos that are going to show you all the different things that you have to do and how the LPM works. But for starters, I'm going to show you where you would come from in the beginning. So we made these magnets at our open house last week. And these magnets have a cavity in the back where the magnets go themselves, and then we also leave a little bit of room to get rid of some of the weight. So there's two operations in here. So I have two vices set up in the machine. The first operation looks like this here, where we cut all the bottom out of it, but the end isn't finished. And then once we flip that to the second operation, we do all the engraving and such like that, okay? So what I did originally is I had two different programs, one for each vise, and then I put the two together in what we call a master program. And once I have a master program, it'll run both operations at the same time. And so to get started, I'm going to give you an idea on how the checklist works and what you would do. So right now I'm looking at the screen and there's nothing in the memory. And I'm going to go to the memory card itself to pull the program out, okay? So I'm in here and I'm going to go to program in and out. And in here I'm going to tell it that I want to open a program. And you'll notice there's a list of programs in here. And down a little bit here, you're going to see that there's one that says Open House Magnet.ptm. What the PTM stands for is that it's a master program. You'll notice the ones above it actually say either PT4 or PT7. PT4 is our other ProtoTRAK versions, but this machine will run them. And a PT7 is a program that's actually made in the LPM itself, okay? So I have two different operations in there, and that's what I started with. So now I'm going to open this because I've already done this before. So I go to Open File. And once it opens the file, then I have the ability to go to the machine setup, and in here we have what we call our checklist. And what this checklist is a list of questions where everything has to be green in order for the machine to run. So assuming that this job has been run in the past, all I have to do is answer the questions to get everything back to the state it was in before. Okay, so the first question up here, it says, have you reconciled your master program? Well, I have, and I know that. But you'll notice it gives me two choices. I can either check to see if I've done this, or I can just push OK because I know it's done. So I'm going to push OK. Come down to the next one. The next one's asking me about my Z safety height. Your Z safety height is the distance from the table up for your tools to go when it moves from one operation to the next operation. If I don't put anything in here, the numbers that you're seeing on the screen are actually the tool change position, but there's no reason for the tool to have to go all the way up to 14 inches or more. So I'm going to change this by pushing check and then putting in here 7 inches followed by the set key. Now I can push OK and it will turn green, okay? The next question is already green, which means it already knows that that's correct. Here it's asking me if I've checked my tool path. I know that's correct because I made the program, so I'm going to say OK. And the last one in the top section is asking me if I saved the program, and since I just pulled this out of the memory, obviously I have. So that one's also OK. Now you'll notice in here that I've got a couple questions that are not yellow but actually red. A yellow question is just kind of a thing to make sure that I know that things are correct, and it gives me the opportunity to say, yes, I know it is, or I can go check and make sure it is, or make some changes. But when it's red, it's not going to move on until it makes me do this work, okay? So this particular one is saying, hey, you got to tell it what ball lock position you're in. Well, as I kind of hinted about a little bit in my opening, there's ball locks built into the table on an LPM. There's actually 3 sets. And that allows me to use different types of vices and fixture plates and things like that. And I can move them in different places on the table. So when I'm running 2 vices, I actually use 2 different sets of ball locks. What it's asking me in here is to tell it which part is at which ball lock, okay? So what I'm going to do is in here is push go, or do, I'm sorry. And in here, you'll notice in here, right here, it says fixture location, and right now they're not labeled. In the description in the green box, it's telling me 1, 2, or 3 is position A, B, or C. So my first operation is on A, so I'm going to push 1 followed by the set key. And then I'm just going to move over and come up here and push 3 followed by the set key. And when I push return, you'll see that that's now green. Okay? The next question is asking me if my X, Y, and Z offsets are set or not. Now I know they are, but I want you to see what they're talking about. So I'm going to go to the check. And in here what happens is when I actually set up the job initially, I told it where my part zeros were in comparison to where that ball lock position is. And that's the numbers you're seeing put in here. Okay? So I know that's right. So I'm just going to say okay and turn that green. And I'm going to come down to the last red one, which is saying you need to reconcile your tools. And what they're talking about is I've got tools in my program, but I need to tell them where those specific tools are in my tool changer. So when I push do here, you'll notice that here on the left is all of my tools that are in my tool changer, and here on the right are the tools that are in my actual program. And it's telling me, hey, tell me where these tools are compared to those tools. Now I do have them in order, but they don't start with order number 1. So my first tool, as you can see over here, is actually tool number 3, followed by 4, 5, 6, and 7. And you'll see now when I push return that the entire screen is green, which means the only thing I have to do is put the parts in, close the door, push go, and I'm up and running. So the time it takes to actually do that would be a little bit more because I would have had to take the other process out, right? So believe me when I say that number around 15 minutes is very doable if this is a job that you've done in the past and assuming that the tools are already in the tool changer. Now if they're not, you're also going to see a red light in the checklist that says, hey, you got to put those tools in the tool changer. So depending on how you're set up compared to your last job, certain ones of those questions are going to be red and they will make you do that process. But as you can see, it's very simple and you can follow along without a whole lot of effort. And at the end, you're going to find yourself getting a lot more parts out the door at the end of the day because you're not going to be spending all your time taking one job down and putting another one in. So in our next video, we're going to break down a little bit more of how these different processes work, and I'll see you in that video. Hey everybody, it's TRAKing Pat here with some of my best guys from the assembly department, reminding you that if you like these videos, don't forget to push the like button. If you want to subscribe so that we have a better idea who's watching us, hit the subscribe button over here. And of course, if you want to see the next video, then slam this one over here. And as always, I hope you enjoy the video. And most importantly, don't forget, keep on tracking.